One of the great surprises of my adult life is that Greg Cody has become an Amazon addict. He's addicted to making little purchases, tiny little purchases that end up at his house.
It's crazy the things I buy these days. Delivered today will be a backyard bug zapper. And I'm not sure why, because I don't have a real mosquito problem. I have these little moths that are supposedly eat my grass or something. I don't know. So I buy a bug zapper. $29.99.
Which one did you go with, Greg? I've been in the market for one.
You know, they all look the same with very similar names. It's like, honestly, I just go by price. I wanted a solar one. I didn't want to bother with a big cord or something. So
we're getting into skeeter season, so I don't want the bugs out there zapping. My kids are out on the swing set, but the mosquitoes are flying around, and you never know what they're carrying.
Yeah, and Jumpin' Charlie, I don't want him to like stick his nose and get zapped.
Right.
So you have to be careful that they're kid friendly and pet friendly, which most of them are, or say they are. But Amazon, 5 years ago, I made fun of other people for not going into retail stores, and now I've turned into that person that I used to make fun of.
Everyone has, Greg. Like that's
really?
That's why Bezos is the richest man in the world.
But I guess I'm late on board there, so I'm just reveling in it.
Well, what's great about you being late on board is the fact that I believe you to be more susceptible to targeted advertising that you don't know is targeted, so you're buying a bug zapper when you don't need it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I bought this little Dr. Gundy or whatever his name is. I bought this little drops that you put on your face to get rid of little spots, and I'm
give it a try, right?
Yeah, I'll try anything.
That's the beauty of Amazon and the business model. You buy things you don't need.
I bought 2 fake ears, 2 artificial ears. Yeah. I mean, I'll buy anything.
Ears.
It's great.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is Bezos the richest man in the world because he's convinced you to buy things you don't need?
100%.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat from the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize, white girls let it tell me I'm awesome, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough, but man's keep walking, Just too sharp with the prize, white girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
What a perfect symbolic ending to LeBron's Laker career. Possibly. Not the loss, just that at the end of the loss, he dominates the landscape by giving a non-answer to a question that is the only non-answer he can give. That will result in us talking about LeBron after he's been eliminated and other teams are headed to the second round because the league has been taken over by other people for the first time in a long time. It's a welcome change, but in the short term, it's going to be bad for the league. Not in the long term, but ratings this year, this is not good that all your stars are out and the league has been taken over and the next revolution is here. In the long term, it'll be good, but not this year. But before we go any further, Greg Cody damaged his face considerably. I don't know that I've had a friend, maybe Izzy Gutierrez, in my entire life that has had a face as busted up as Greg Cody's looked yesterday. And we have a song to commemorate. You love Jimmy Buffett. You recently saw a memorial concert at the Hollywood Bowl because of how much you love Jimmy Buffett. So I imagine you will love this song.
Tripping up. It's these deck shoes. This is a lovely breeze. fainted. I woke up confused, honey. This is a lovely bruise. Yeah, baby, this is a lovely bruise. Yeah, honey, this is a lovely bruise.
The Phantom of the Opera mask that you are presently wearing, you bought for how much on Amazon?
I think it was one of those weird numbers, $6.39 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, but next day delivery, man, shows up in a little package, and when the package has my name on it, it just makes my heart flutter with joy because 99% of the packages we get have my wife's name on it.
It does feel great to
Yeah.
get an Amazon package, like to track the package from the warehouse to
Oh,
your
yeah.
house. It's fantastic.
I feel
Yes.
special,
Right.
honestly.
I know.
It's why Bezos is the richest man in the world.
God bless him.
Even
every
after,
penny.
even after giving up 50% of his stuff. I mean,
I was still reacting to the God bless him part, not the.
Yeah, worth every penny of it. Convenience, man. He's selling convenience.
look at you.
I'm telling you, and this thing, it's as sturdy as flimsy plastic can possibly be.
That's right.
We will
really
have a
is.
reveal in a second here, but let's go back to yesterday because it has healed some since yesterday. Let's look at the picture that we have of Greg Cody that has been now, it's been a day, and you've gotten all the clicks that you wanted from embargoing the information on what happened. You threatened to take Chris Cody out of your will if we took the clicks that you got from revealing how it is your eye got that way. But can you tell us now, for the people who have not heard the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody?
Yeah,
Fine.
it's all over, man. It's all over the country. Well, I took a spill. I took a bad spill, and I face planted on asphalt,
Oof.
and that's what happened.
Did you
And-
feel it coming? Did you
No.
feel?
No.
Like you just passed out from one second to the next without feeling like a wooziness or a
It was
lightheadedness?
a
Nothing
coughing
like
fit.
that.
He had a coughing fit, so he stepped outside like he does, and
I'm pretty much done the chronic cough thing, but I did have a little bit of a coughing fit just before that. But I was not aware of fainting, of passing out, of falling. 1 minute I'm walking to my car with my heavy bowling bag in my right hand, and the next minute I'm down on the floor, barely conscious. And I say barely conscious because I'm supine and hearing what sounded like disembodied, distant voices hovering over me. And thank God one of them was Christopher's voice.
That's something worth thanking God for. The detail here that was here now that would have been worth giving the clicks to the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody because
Fine.
of how truly pathetic a detail it is to have in the middle of this. You walking somewhere with a bag with your bowling ball
Yes. 14 pounds.
for your
Actually, I take that back. 15.
Wow.
That's a big one.
That's a big ball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
no doubt.
Do a lot of damage.
Yeah, you can.
The ball okay?
You know what? The ball's okay.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
for your weekly bowling match
Yeah.
that represents the last vestiges of any athleticism or competitiveness that you still have in your soul.
It's a league bowling thing. Christopher and I, it's a family league. It's Christopher and I, his father-in-law, Michael, and then a family friend. It's a wonder. I look forward to that weekly bowling league like none other.
Dan, that's unfair. Have you seen this man kick field goals? I mean,
Thank you.
true.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
I
Stugotz.
have, and he hurt
7
himself.
years ago.
And he hurt
Well,
himself.
I mean,
Well, there's nothing you can do to prevent injury.
I know, but that would end his athletic career. I said the last vestiges
Some thought
of
it
his
would.
athletic career,
Right,
and he
well.
comes back with let me make a correction here from
Yeah.
7 years ago when Greg injured himself trying to kick a field goal that ended his athletic career.
yeah, but he's still out there bowling. I mean,
and bowling requires athleticism. Believe me.
Yeah.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Does bowling require athleticism? Believe me.
Hell
Shameless
yeah.
Norm
Le Batard
Duke.
Show.
Yeah.
That's right. The Duke.
How'd you bowl that day? I think that the most important question.
How did I bowl? My bowling game is mediocre.
You're about a 150, right?
I'm about a 150. I am exactly a 150 average. And, I'm capable of bowling a 200. I'm also capable of bowling a 112. So I'm all over the map. Very inconsistent.
Chris Cody, can you please play the Lord song of the last time where we buried Greg Cody's entire career as an athlete?
I've never seen Cody in the flesh, but he sounds like he's 80 years old. I know he's not proud of how he dresses, in an 80s shirt and a 70s haircut. But on the show he's like knuckleball, curveball, I can hit a home run. Kershaw, Verlander, don't matter who is throwing, I don't care. I'll hit them 400 feet in air. And then Greg Cody's like, I can take D, Wade, and Bosch on the double team, find the open man, and even if they're guarding me, I don't care. I'm draining threes from everywhere, and I can kick field goals. Like my idol Fuad Revis, I'll hit from 50 yards at least. Even though I'm missing PATs, I'm good enough to place wagers. And win the money from Le Batard, and then I'll... Ow! I think I just pulled my quad.
You did actually pull your quad, right?
I did, yeah.
That was an injury that required what doctor's care, did it not?
Well, they took me into the trainer's room at St. Thomas Aquinas.
Chris
where we
Carter
were
heckled
kicking.
you.
He was
Chris
mocking
Carter
you.
did
yeah.
heckle me. You're
CC,
right.
yeah.
I'd forgotten about that. Nice detail there. But no, that quickly healed.
I'm going to tell the audience I'm putting all the Heat and Panthers stuff in the local hour. You will find it an hour from now. At the moment, I want to cover some of the stuff from last night.
So local hour is officially an hour from now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just,
That's official.
it's been everywhere.
How dare CC mock you? What do you think he bowls now?
All he does is catch touchdowns. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. Does he bowl? I don't know. I challenge him. I challenge Chris Carter to a bowl
Wow,
off.
wait, hold on. Look straight at the camera and do that. You'll find it.
I challenge him to a bowl off. If you're listening,
wrong
Chris.
camera.
Here, just hold on a second. Let's see. Which
He
camera?
looks so
which
menacing in that.
camera?
Yeah.
Here.
I think it's
which-
in the wooden thing here.
All right, right here. This wooden
That's
thing right
it. No.
here. Go ahead.
There we go.
Right there.
Now, you talk to Chris Carter so that we can send this to him.
Chris Carter, I want you on a bowling lane. You and me, man to man.
Wait a minute.
Baby.
Wait a minute. That sounds like you've offered to
Hold on.
have him, to take him, to desire him on a
What?
bowling
I
lane.
am going to kick his ass on a
Oh.
bowling lane.
Kick.
That's right.
Because it sounded like you wanted him to lay down on the bowling lane.
You got a dirty mind.
Let's try it again, just in case. You
yeah.
misunderstood.
One more
Yeah.
time.
CC,
Take two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Carter,
That's
you,
the wrong
You're
camera.
looking at the
Wrong
wrong
camera
camera. The wrong
Chris
camera.
Carter, you mocked me when I pulled a hamstring trying to kick field goals at St. Thomas Aquinas, and now I challenge you to a game of bowling. I have no idea why, but I challenge you to a game of bowling, just you and I, $1,000 to the winner.
Whoa.
Wait, what? Who's
Did I
fronting
just say that?
Whoa.
Who's fronting that?
Yeah, Dan's going to front me on that.
No.
All
No?
he does is throw strikes.
Mr. Meadowlark. Mr. Meadowlark is going to put up my $1,000 bill.
Do you guys do the same thing when you hear the name? Well, he called it Fuad Revis. I thought it was. I've always pronounced it Fuad Revez.
Same, yes.
Right.
But do you guys go the same place mentally than I do? Because there's only one place I go with the when I hear the name Fuad Revez, and it is not football, field goal kicking, or being good at anything that he was good at that I knew about. It's something he was good at that I didn't know about, which is that the Vikings had a defensive tackle, John Randall, that everyone in the league was kind of scared of. He was terrifying. He would celebrate his sacks by crawling around and pretending to urinate like a dog on the quarterback. And John Randall was a menace in his own locker room. And one day he went after Fuad Revez,
Yes.
who then ended up putting
Tomato.
in like a figure.
Do you pronounce the Z? Actually, I think it's just Fuad Revet.
Huh.
Was he French?
I don't know how to pronounce this man's name
I
because
put a Z on there.
Fuad Revez.
Revez.
Fuad Revez.
Chavez Ravine.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Regardless, John Randall was locked up in the locker room in a way that he had to tap out because the kicker. Oh, you have that story. Excellent. I didn't know you had that story.
I heard on Friday from an informed source that Fuad Revez, the kicker, reduced him to tears in the Vikings locker room. Fuad, true or untrue?
Well, let me say this. It is true to a certain degree. It's true in that he always liked to just jump on people from behind and just give them a hard time. And he did that to me, and being that I was a former wrestler, and I was able just to wrestle my way into putting him into a lock, into a position that he could not get out of until he was able to beg for me to let him go. So needless to say, from that day on, a lot of my buddies just gave him a really hard time.
Begged. Made John
So
Randall
awesome.
beg.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go to last night, Stugotz, because a handful of interesting things happened. During the day, a report comes out that the Lakers are open to drafting Bronny to keep LeBron around.
Funny.
It is funny. He's going to be able to make a decision as the oldest player in the league that gives him options and allows him still to do what he wants to do because still he is somehow his own economy. And then they lose last night to Denver. Denver is a worthy champion, and I would say to you, LeBron James lost last night, but LeBron James doesn't generally deserve to lose. His team is very good. He's still very good. He ran into a champion last night, and the champion finished him because Jamal Murray is now getting into these situations where he's been in enough of these games that he could be the second option that makes the shot because everybody's worried about the other guy. And when I say the other guy, Stugotz, I want to ask the group here. Tom Brady's the standard in all of sports for people had no idea how good he was going to be. How could no one who's an expert at football know that was going to be good? But I think this is the standard in basketball now. This guy in Denver,
Jokic,
not throughout sports, but in basketball, a guy who made everyone look like a fool because how could you not know that he was this good? How could nobody know that there was a guy who didn't deserve to be drafted in the first round, who was going to become as dominant as anyone you've ever seen? And in the game last night, he's the guy you know is going to win. You know his team is going to win because he makes excellence look boring. I'm asking you, Manu Ginobili used to be someone like this, who made it the Hall of Fame from the second round. The Spurs were said to be good at this, but I don't think I can find anything in basketball that vaguely resembles close to, what do you mean one of the best players ever? Nobody had any idea he was going to be any good. Nobody had any idea that he'd be a starter in the league. Like, how is that even fundamentally possible when you have experts analyzing sports all over the place?
Even the Manu comps, while I see why you go there, it was just a different time in the NBA where it was harder to sign those guys. So Jokic was more of a true eval at his draft spot. It's considering the resources that go into NBA and how just different it is to scout that. You could stack up where he was drafted. It's not quite Tom Brady's 6th round tier, but it's actually pretty close when you consider how much the NBA has developed their scouting arms.
But to Dan's point, this is a 2nd round pick. It's not Dennis Rodman. He has a different skill set. And now that I'm thinking about it, how did every team miss on it? Like the fact that he might turn into one of the great players we've ever seen because that size with that skill set.
Yeah, drafted though, the game was also very clearly headed in a different direction, and you could understand how people weren't exactly sure how he'd fit into it. Now he fits into it like a glove.
Well, when you say the sport was headed in a different way or different place positionless, this part's fascinating to me. The Boston Celtics suffered an injury last night that will end them if he cannot play against the teams in the West, because the 4 top seeds in the West can all beat the Celtics, but the Celtics are better with Porzingis. But they need Porzingis. They have
Horford.
They have Horford, but they've got a real size problem if they go into deeper into the postseason and have to face Denver. Have to face Jokic with a size problem. Like, you don't want Harper.
Someone ends up beating the Nuggets. It'd be shocking to me. Just given what we've seen recently, no one's really had an answer for him. How do you go about stopping them? I'm asking because I'm genuinely curious because I don't pay that close attention to the sport to know or even comprehend what the book is on stopping Jokic.
This year's team is actually better than last year's team that won the NBA championship. And the reason I say that, Mike, you and I have talked about this guy for a while, but he's finally coming into his own. Michael Porter Jr. is the reason the Nuggets are a better Dan.
No, I disagree.
He was
with you.
so good last night,
Stugotz,
and he's been so good all
Stugotz,
season.
This is where I disagree with you. Okay, Michael Porter was good all of last season, and then was the worst starter in the finals. That team is not as good as it was last year because Bruce Brown and Jeff Green matter, and their bench is light and young. That team isn't as good as it was last year. It is still very good. Minnesota can beat them. Can you guys look up for me the box scores of the last series Minnesota and Denver played against each other last season? Because Minnesota is also a good deal better. And Anthony Edwards is here for stardom. And Rudy Gobert does have the kind of size that somehow doesn't get taken off of the court now in the first round. And Minnesota can absolutely beat Denver. But Denver last night, what they did with Jamal Murray, had LeBron James after the game. I want to play this sound because, Stugotz, this question is so easy to answer if you actually have made your mind up and don't want to create the hysteria that he's going to create by specifically answering it this way. This might be the end of his career. This might be the Laker career. And this might be what it sounds like because this is what the endings have sounded like every time he leaves.
Tonight, was there any thought at all that, this could have been your last game with the Lakers?
I'm not going to answer that. Appreciate it.
What a perfect final act.
Well done. Yeah.
The pause said more than the no comment. The no comment said more than
smirk.
There were three things he did there where it's like, yeah, if I'm going to go into my offseason, I'm going to do the move where I neuter some of the criticism on television tomorrow morning by getting them to talk about the transaction and my next stop. I'm going to turn the volume down just a little bit on how much they criticize me for leaving or for losing because I'm going to titillate them with leaving.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's such a good move. It's a veteran move by him.
And almost immediately come the leaked reports. The Lakers are open to drafting Bronny and giving LeBron what he wants at this stage in his career. And I got to say, just because you're accomplished and you want to bring your family along, that's kind of whack, no?
Yeah, but it's the ultimate power, like, the ultimate flex.
Just you're long in the tooth. You've had a
Mike,
nice career in your industry, and you insist on bringing a family member around. It's just I could never.
Mike, he's 40 years old. He's going to be 40 years old. If he could convince an NBA team to draft his son, who has no business being drafted in the first round, that's the ultimate flex.
But Mike's right, though. It's unprofessional. Mike's right. You shouldn't do that.
No one thinks he's as good as you do because you're just related. No one wants to see this.
You're biased just because you love the person. It's not about their qualifications. It's not about merit. That's supposed to be a meritocracy. Sports is supposed to be a meritocracy.
LeBron has talked for 10 years about wanting to play with his child.
Yep.
You shouldn't work with your.
Tom Izzo played his son.
Father.
I mean, I agree. It's nepotism. You shouldn't work with your son.
You got here a little late, Greg. We were already doing that.
It was really more of a barb at Dan.
No, I took it. I absorbed it.
The reverse Nepo.
And then I realized I saw it was directed at me, but while I did it, I was staring at Chris.
I was like, why am I on the camera right now?
But last night, Stugotz, I'm telling you, the Lakers are good, and he's still good. Like that's.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, he was really good. He was really good down the stretch,
Yep.
going to the cup, getting Aaron Gordon out of position, and taking advantage of that, going to the line, doing the LeBron things, and you realize that even if it's not Jokic making the buckets on the other end, his presence just absorbs so many bodies out of there that Aaron Gordon can win a one-on-one against LeBron James and rip it away from him, or he can go up and get it himself and turn a mediocre possession into one that they get 2 to 3 points on. And Jamal Murray's finally he's getting healthier and healthier with each passing season. I don't know if he's ever going to be bubble Jamal, but he's exactly what they need to be that guy down the
He wasn't
stretch.
supposed to play yesterday. He was begging him to play. He should have sat out.
Yep, hit the game winner. I have some advice for LeBron James. Me and Greg were talking before the show. I think this is a great final act because, Dan, when you think back at his career and you think about what he's chasing and who he's chasing, and that's Michael Jordan, of course, LeBron has won championships in the South. He has the South covered. He has won in the Midwest. He has Middle America covered. He has won out west with L.A. He has the West Coast covered. Whoever loses between the Knicks and Celtics, okay, in the Eastern Conference Championship is where LeBron goes. Because if he goes to one of those teams, okay, and he helps them win a title, Boston, can you imagine? He wins one in L.A. and one in Boston.
Perfect.
Or the Knicks.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. I think people, Dan, he would have the entire country covered, and I think people might start saying that he was better than Michael Jordan.
Yes.
How about that?
Stugotz is right. The king of LeBron, the king of New York.
Yeah.
That's the apex of a mountainous career.
Yeah.
I just
It-
want to
it
be. I
really
want to be
is.
clear on Stugotz's takes on this because he can be
It's advice, that's all.
wildly inconsistent. You didn't want him on the Knicks when I asked you 6 weeks ago. You simply
right.
flatly stunned me by saying you didn't want him on the Knicks. Hold on. Just
Okay.
hold on.
Well,
Hold on.
that was then, though.
Just hold on. Okay. Yes, that was then. And now you are saying, I've been saying, meaning you, for the entire time LeBron's been alive, he's not as good as Michael Jordan, but he will be if he comes to my team.
No, not his team per se. The region.
Well, no. But,
Region.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
New
He
York.
said he tossed Boston.
No,
in
but
there.
Dan's right. I was thinking Knicks. But he has to win one.
That's right.
They have to
But
lose, and he has to win one.
So only winning one for you will make him better.
Winning one for me is like winning 10.
That's right.
Pablo Torre is going to be here in a moment. He is tackling a topic on the next Pablo Torre Finds Out that I believe everyone in this room will be interested in. As soon as I present to you the subject matter, I happen to be talking about the thing he's doing in the kitchen with a few of my friends recently. It's a story from 1973 in sports that I would love to happen today, just to see how people reacted, because I am certain you guys are going to be interested in the subject matter. At some point during the show today, we are going to reveal whatever it is that Greg Cody's face looks like now. He wants us to do it now because he's finding the $6.39 purchase on his face to be uncomfortable. And so he wants to take it off now. Should we just get it over with? Because we've got a couple of, I'm going to say, anticlimactic announcements to make around here today, because Stugotz has botched another thing, and he's taking advantage of the fact that nobody is in charge around here anymore. That all of a sudden Mike Ryan has left his position to just snort hockey all the time. And now Stugotz, he ran Whitty out of here because Whitty was just tired of, loved everything about the job except trying to corral Stugotz. He's going to make Billy fundamentally insane.
I mean, Whitty would wake up one morning expecting me to be in studio, and I'd be at Shoreline Amphitheater watching Dead and Company.
That's part of the problem. And so last week, because he needed a travel day to get to not Detroit.
Detroit-ish, yeah.
Detroit.
He needed, that would have actually been a better way to do it. Detroit would have been a better way to do it than the way, I know that you did it parenthetically by putting the entire Troy in the way Tony did it, but the way that Greg just said it would have been the way to do it. Just Detroit.
I'm there for you.
Like a faux Detroit.
Funny. Yeah.
Detroit adjacent. But Stugotz needed 2 days to get to not Detroit.
Yep.
So he had to be out Wednesday's show and Thursday's show. And before leaving Wednesday, he pulls me aside. Me, I'm not the planner, and tells me all the different ways that the book has to be announced last week and reveal the cover, and he's not going to be here and do it last week. And so I did it last week.
You did?
And now he wants to do it again today because he says today is the reveal of the book cover, and I just don't think this is the way to make announcements.
You weren't supposed to do it last week. I was just checking on inventory. I was making sure the cover was here. I was making sure the book is here, and it's here. And I was going to make an announcement. And so you weren't supposed to do it last week, but I appreciate that you did it, and you're about to do it again. How about that? Little bang for my buck.
Why would I do it last week unless you told me? Like, why would I announce something with the cover and formally and bring it out and do the whole thing if you hadn't told me to do that while you were away, and except you weren't supposed to do it so early, and today was the day we were supposed to announce
I was waiting for a co-author to be here with me, and I have one in studio. His name is Greg Cody.
Thank you.
Still waiting on your forward, by the way.
It's a great looking book.
Thank you.
And
it is.
That cover is spectacular.
Yeah,
what did you have to pay the league to license the Lombardi Trophy?
We mentioned this last week, Stugotz. We think you have a liability issue here that you don't know about, that you've just done some things that you can't just sell as if it's
I don't know how you got a licensing agreement with the 4 major sports.
I think the good people at Random House who have been at this for quite some time, they know what they're doing. I mean, I have a book deal with Random House.
That's true.
That would argue the other point then.
Plus, if you look real closely,
Fair, Billy.
if you look real closely on the football trophy there, it says Lombardi Trophy. Like they get around it by just slightly misspelling Lombardi.
Detroit.
Which is brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Vince Lombardi.
Also, that's not scale on the trophies, but that's nitpicking.
You're going to critique the cover?
Well, it's just we all know that Lord Stanley is much larger than the Lombardi Trophy. Now, if you want to make the Lombardi Trophy the same size as Lord Stanley, I'm all for that, but it's just not accurate.
What's the announcement? Is it just what the cover looks like?
So the announcement is now through Thursday, okay? If you go to StugottsBook.com and you pre-order the book, you're going to get an autographed copy. You're also going to get a special insert, a decal. It's very cool. Instead of a bookworm, it's a book snake. How about that?
Oh, that's very clever.
Yep.
If the World Series trophy were the same size as Lord Stanley, it would have impaled somebody by now.
That's true.
You're hung up on this.
It would have poked somebody's eye out. It's just
Right.
there's a reason why practically it is the size that it is. But for your personal record book, unless in your personal record book all the trophies are all the same size.
Billy had a great idea yesterday, and perhaps, I don't know, I wish I would have done this, but all the people that contributed, Greg Cody being one of them, Mina Kimes, Tim Kirchin, I thank all of them, Stan Van Gundy. Billy wants all their names on the cover of the book, but he wants them in order. Like the biggest name at the top, the smallest name at the bottom.
Biggest name is in most famous?
Yes.
I suggested to him that he says by Stugotz and then just a series of ands, and they just continue to get smaller
and
as
smaller.
they go down on the
Yeah.
front of the book, so that it looks like it was by which it was by all of these people.
Yeah.
And then you're also like going to upset whoever it is their name is last.
That's a
and the
great
smallest.
idea. That's a better cover than the one that we're announcing.
Right, but that's a nice
no one
cover,
asked.
though. Right. No one asked Billy.
Stugotz, that's better than this. Are you sure?
Well, perhaps I'll find a place for it.
That's a funny joke to go. And
I know.
is the smallest name? Are you going to insult somebody by making the smallest name the most famous name? Like if it said Dan Le Batard as the smallest name or Greg Cody, is like what's the funniest joke to make the final name in the smallest print?
Well, that's what we were working on: is who would be
Mine?
the smallest name. Stugotz decided that
His name, yeah.
he was going to have Andre Dawson be the smallest name.
No.
They said,
He's the
"Not
MVP
nice."
of this book, I am telling you. I wrote a chapter about how Andre Dawson has absolutely no reasons to have an MVP. You cannot have an MVP and be in a last place team. You can't do it. And so I called my friend Andre and I told him my take and I asked him to write a rebuttal. And did he ever?
Well,
he took a bat to my head, Dan.
Everything there is true except for the part where Stugotz says, "I wrote a chapter."
Well, what did you say to Andre Dawson?
They're my takes.
What did you say to him?
Also, the my friend part.
Well, I said, Andre, I need you to do me a favor. I wrote a chapter. It's called.
No. How did you thank him when he sent you that lovely chapter?
Well, I sent him I told him he's not the real MVP. Like I said, you're the MVP of the book, but you're still not the MVP of the National League for the Cubs. That's what I said to him.
Billy, can I know that
Hawk got right back to me.
I know that we have a long history of Stugotz just doing truly, shameless.
Felt like Billy was setting him up for something.
For a story
there,
he told me yesterday, which is he said that he told me, like, oh, thanks, Andre. I love this. You did a great job. Also, you still shouldn't be the MVP.
Well, that's what I did. Yes, that's what I just said. I mean, he's not the MVP. I mean, that team won like 47 games.
Hold on.
Thank you for writing a chapter on
Hold on. Let me just explain.
Dan, you can't be an MVP on a last place team.
Hold on. Let me explain to the
Can
audience.
write a chapter.
Did you send him a carafe of embalming fluid to thank him?
Let me explain to the audience what just happened. Mike Ryan and Billy are tossing to Stugotz a story that says all over it for everyone to see, hey, Stugotz, be Stugotz and tell the Stugotz story. And Stugotz forgets how to be that Stugotz because he's too busy being
I'm an author.
this Stugotz, famous author of a book, and getting to the story I was getting to, of all your shameless acts, and there are legions of them. I don't know that there's one that runs through me quite as icky as the idea that I'm pretty sure the only time you talked to Andre Dawson or in any capacity was at my wedding. And that you asked him to do this for no pay while insulting him is just one of the great shameless acts. And now that you will profit off it while not paying him and call him your friend, it's delightful book snakery. Everybody go to StugotzBook.com where you can get all the kind of true stories told by others about Stugotz.
Well, thank you for the great promotion, Dan, and the kind promotion. I appreciate it. He said yes. He did it with a smile on his face, and I've done way worse.
I know, but
I mean, Mike Breen was on hold during Stupidity while I went over to interview Jake Paul. I mean, he thought my electricity went out.
Jake Paul minus 180 against Mike Tyson.
Really?
I've
I
been
got
wanting
Tyson.
to bet
What?
Tyson.
Big money on Tyson.
Yeah, that line's actually come down. Yeah, last I saw. But you saw now it's a sanctioned fight, so maybe that changes the math a little
It's
bit.
a sanctioned heavyweight fight, and I did want to ask you about this because I think it's going to be a giant thing. And I've been fascinated by the stuff Netflix is doing. I don't know when this Tom Brady roast is.
This Sunday.
Yeah.
Belichick's one of the roasters.
Is he really?
Yes.
Belichick is one of the roasters.
Yep. Edelman, Gronkowski, Belichick. I think Drew Bledsoe is in there.
This is okay. So now you're putting some expectations on it for me. I hope I hope they don't patriot it by being.
You want
Patriots.
Belichick to be.
Well, I mean, they're attempting comedy, right? The roast is a great format. I would love to see what Tom Brady is doing with all of his branding the rest of his career. I've told you guys that I'm fascinated. Like, I'm hugely fascinated by the economy of Tom Brady versus LeBron James. Peyton Manning over here. Hey, let's make stuff. I bet you I can do something late in career where I might be able to make more money than I made playing. Let me make stuff. And you know what else I'll make? A whole lot of money because I'm competing against LeBron and Peyton and all of these guys who are now fighting at the top of sports. These guys, Stugotz, it's so fascinating what's happening in this business. These athletes who have stormed it, all of them realizing, wait a minute, I could just use my fame and a microphone, and Paul George has got something on the side where he doesn't need any media ever again for anything because he's got his own platform and can speak directly to his fans, and he's figured out what Draymond Green has while still playing. Let me go get that money now because holy shit, there's more money after, as Shaq and Barkley will show you, than there was playing.
The athletes don't need us anymore. We talked about this 10 years ago.
But,
they don't need us.
So the part that's fascinating about the making of stuff, Jake Paul is the younger version of this. He's just made a giant event in boxing. He created that from the sewer. Like, that's all self-made. That's YouTube.
Yeah.
And he's going to fill a football stadium in Dallas fighting someone, and we're going to watch. And boxing has now become, whether you like it or not, it's circus freak town. This is what we want. Not the boxing fan, not the purist. No, the spectacle. And young person, Jake Paul, about 1,000 miserable, questionable things around him, but very little governance, fights Mike Tyson. And people are going to watch it. And I find it interesting, and I've got a very strong chance of being hugely loud wrong. Because I, wanting to believe in 57-year-olds, because I'm almost one of them, might be underestimating that the betting odds are, hey, Jake Paul's young and strong and kind of a good boxer. But I'm like, it's Tyson. Right. I would not fight him at 90. He could be in hospice dragging a dialysis machine, and he will strangle me to death with its cords.
Well, your logic is winning out because when this line first opened, it was really inflated in Jake Paul's favor. Super inflated.
This is not just some old guy. This is the 57-year-old guy anywhere in the world whose fists I would fear more than anybody's. I've been telling you that Pablo Torre is consistently finding that at the end of his curiosities, there are a whole bunch of things that a lot of people would be interested in knowing more about. And I was just saying before he came on with us here that just this weekend with a group of people, I was talking about something that happened in 1973 that if it happened today would be truly amazing. But it happened 50 years ago, and now he's doing a story on that thing. And Pablo, go ahead and tell the crew, because I told all of them that they're going to be interested in this subject matter. Tell them what it is that you're putting out in public.
Yeah, it's the Yankee wife swap story, which I think Greg, as he adjusts his phantom mask, may have a flicker of recognition for.
But say that phrase again, wife swap.
Wife swap, the Yankee wife swap. And you should know that the wife swap part of this undersells the swap. It's a real life story of something that happened in 1973, as you said, 50 years ago now. And it's about two starting pitchers for the New York Yankees, two best friends, two lefties, two guys who were truly together all of the time, who decided to not just trade wives, and I mean this in the most carnal and romantic ways. I also mean that they traded their kids. They each had two kids, their pets, their furniture, their houses. Really, it was a husband swap. But they changed lives in the middle of their baseball careers. And this was just a thing that happened. And if you remember it, it is arguably the most batshit crazy thing that's ever happened in sports history. But it's been 50 years, and so I just got to, investigate and report out what happened then and after and since. And it culminates in a whole bunch of stuff that I think people probably are into. Purely, again, if you're into crazy batshit gossip and also robots.
Was I right when I said all of you would be interested in learning slightly more about a 1973 wife swap story?
Pablo's right. I remember it. I had just been hired by the Fort Lauderdale Yankees to be their official scorer, even though I was only 18 years old.
Wow.
And I remember at a spring training, Steinbrenner giving a big interview surrounded by reporters about Kekich and Peterson swapping families. And it was the most surreal thing. I wasn't, I was covering high schools at the time. The story had nothing to do with me, but peripherally, I remember the circus. And this is long before ESPN Sports Center, so you're right, Pablo.
We had a man on the ground. You could have been a man on the ground because you were around.
He was there for that.
Right. You were there for that. We just hit the Greg Cody wheelhouse. Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Are you stunned that the Greg Cody wheelhouse is a 1973 story about wife swapping?
Well, it's not like it wasn't covered at the time, but Pablo's right. Compared to how it would be covered today, it wasn't. That's for sure.
Pablo Torre Finds Out is the name of the podcast. It's part of the Le Batard and Friends network. I don't think, Greg, you realize how funny it sounds that because of your breathing and that mask, there's a huffing and puffing quality acoustically to everything you're saying that's echoing off the inside of your mask.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And whatever actor played the Phantom, I feel for that guy because this is hell on wheels wearing this mask.
That actor did have a $5 mask from Amazon.
$6.39.
Should we just do the reveal so he should stop suffering? I need a ruling from the shipping container on this. Should we what's the payoff here? Because the bruise isn't as bad as it was yesterday. I was hoping it would get worse. It did not.
Really? Why would you hope that?
He apologized to me earlier for it healing so quickly.
I did.
Just visually, not actually health-wise worse. I just wanted it to look a little worse and then everything to get better because it'd make for better content.
Yeah. Well, 3 days ago, my right eye was circled by blood red. I looked like a raccoon, but it was blood red around my right eye. And the healing powers of the human body are pretty remarkable, and now it doesn't look nearly as bad.
All right, well, then just reveal it so we can get on with what's happening here and just be done with it. Okay, there's the anticlimax of that.
Ta-da!
Yes, there it is.
So, I mean,
we should have just kept the mask.
Wow. Yeah, it's healing.
Wow.
So.
Dan, you happy now?
Yes, better.
Wait,
Better.
Can you create a T-shirt with Greg's face and the caption is the healing powers of the human body are remarkable?
He's hideous.
He's hideous. Thank you, Mike.
Pablo, there are a number of different things that I want to talk to you about, but one of them is the back page of the New York Post, Joel Embiid and everything happening in New York, because Miami fans have something to be happy about in the next couple of rounds. Either Boston or New York is guaranteed to lose.
Is Pablo a Sixers fan or a Knicks fan today?
I don't know. Let's see where we are with all of this, Pablo. Take us through this back page cover.
Yeah, so Joel Embiid, if you're not familiar, as we wait for the back page to pop up here, Joel Embiid, his body feels like Greg's face looks. So he's not well right now, okay? But the most hated man in New York is the big 200-point font on the back page of the Post. Knicks fans set to tell Embiid how they really feel. And at this point, it just feels like bullying. I've spent the weekend reflecting on how I've been handling this story, and I have criticism for Embiid in a way that makes me feel like a guy who turned heel. That's what Mina told us, Dan and me on our group chat. What an incredible heel turn for Pablo to start killing Joel Embiid and get all these Sixers fans mad at him. And at this point, when I say to you, okay, that Joel Embiid had 1 point in the fourth quarter of this last game, that he had 0 rebounds in the fourth quarter of the previous game, that in the first 2 games he had 0 rebounds, I believe in the second half, or whatever it is. Lots of zeros when it comes to that guy. He had 1 point in the fourth quarter. So look, to me, it's just stating the obvious. And the fact that he is the most hated man in New York feels like this city's appreciation for a punching bag, for a piñata. It feels like it's piñata season on Joel Embiid.
Pablo,
so this is him, but
Pablo, look, this is what is so great, fascinating, humanizing about all the storytelling that is in sports that's so wonderful. New York, Stugotz, is about to get so obnoxious.
Yes.
So obnoxious.
Yep.
And in comes the guy uniquely qualified in body type and character
to handle
not to handle this, just to be a troll. And after 3 years of my body works perfect, and look here, chop, I'm bigger than everyone, chop, and all he is a troll, and he's welcoming the fight. But now he's got Bell's palsy, Stugotz. His face is drooping. He can't blink his left eye.
He should be wearing a phantom mask.
I thought you were talking about Taylor.
We're going to go to Taylor. He's on a train. He's almost arrived at Madison Square Garden. But what's about to fall on Embiid's head, Pablo? This is the place where people are made into either heroes or crushed under it, because I would not want to be him headed into that.
Yes, the superpower of New York, the real thing New York City can sell is that it has this spotlight that actually melts people. It's a thing. That building specifically, more than Yankee Stadium even, that building is a spotlight. You shine on people, and you see whether you can actually destroy them. And Joel Embiid in the fourth quarter, the reason I say the fourth quarter is because it is a proxy for pressure. And pressure has never felt more palpable than in the Garden when it's sold out and the Knicks are onto something. And they're onto it.
No, and they just trampled your building, so that after the game, you're saying you're pissed off because New York, hey, wasn't Philadelphia sports town. Stugotz, I would not want to be Joel Embiid. My body doesn't work right. The stress is in my face. It doesn't allow my left eye to blink. New York is coming for me, and I don't know what to do about their little guy. And then they start offensive rebounding, and I can't get Hartenstein off my back. Like, I wouldn't want to be him tonight, and these are the nights. Hey, Joel, MVP, can you put up 50 even though your body doesn't work?
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but Joel Embiid's going to be fine either way.
I'm just saying it would scare me is all I'm saying.
I understand, but Joel Embiid lives in this place where if he wins, great. We'll celebrate him tomorrow. And if he loses, no one's going to blame Joel Embiid because he'll blame everyone else.
He cares very much. He's playing the way that he is because his body is broken.
Yep.
No human being with their body in this condition would want this set of circumstances falling on their head.
It depends on the athlete, Dan. Some athletes welcome this.
Okay,
Michael welcomed this.
Not if your body doesn't work right, Stugotz.
You remember the flu game?
Not if the Bell's palsy is in your face. It's a stress disease.
I understand, but the great athletes, they look forward to tonight, to shutting up that crowd. Say whatever you want. I'm going to shut you up. We're going back to Philly for Game 6.
And I am telling you, as we sit here today, I'm not as brave or strong as the great athletes. I would fall apart under these conditions.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that I've watched Joel Embiid now for almost a decade, and I have not seen, and this is the criticism I have of him. He has not risen to those moments. I got people really mad at me because I said he needed to step up in a big game. And of course he scored. He has the greatest postseason resume this postseason of his entire career. He scored 50 the other night. And that is still true alongside the fact that at the end of a game, it doesn't look like he is seizing the moment. And I get that this makes me sound like a every Philadelphia sports fan, I suppose, which I count myself as in the last decade, for the Sixers, we turn into sports radio callers because by the end of it, you're just yelling at your television and saying to somebody, be better. And yet with Joel Embiid, I do think that he has not shown a comfort under pressure. And when you're the guy who's the troll, when you're the guy who is so fun because you look like you don't give a fuck. The fact that you look like you're giving every single F, sorry, Roy, that's the problem now, is that, oh, right, you're the opposite of your brand now. You look scared and broken. And the latter, I understand physically. The former is what makes me want to call into a radio station.
It's fascinating, just storyline from the idea that if you're watching this the way Pablo is, from the start of the process, this is 15 years of Northeast basketball. New York hasn't mattered for 15 years. Philadelphia has been building, and all they have to show for losing on purpose and embarrassing themselves is this broken thing that now falls under the light of the magnifying glass when the sun is burning ants. It's like, you're what's left of this. Go save it in Madison Square Garden under impossible conditions. Except you're the best player on the floor. You're the MVP.
Yes. Yes.
This is where these stories get made, Stugotz.
You're calling these impossible conditions. He has a great number 2 in Maxey. The team is good. They made a mistake with Jimmy Butler over to...
I'm talking about his body, Stugotz.
I get, Dan, I get the body part. But
you don't, though, is what I'm saying. You don't.
He's still playing at a very high level, even while broken.
I know, but you're asking him to play at a higher level.
Yep. Flu game.
Okay. It's like watching a 7-foot Greg Cody play center. That's what Joel Embiid has been like all year.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's a compliment.
It is.
We're in the chat room today with Vegas legend Wayne Newton. Enjoy this throwback interview from the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz.
If you were to take us on a tour of Wayne Newton's house, can you do that on the radio? Can you just sort of take us on a tour of your house in Las Vegas? Like, what's the coolest stuff if you had to impress somebody?
A quick little tour would be through some antique wrought iron gates, and then there are 65 purebred Arabian horses that you'll see and go by. There's a car collection of Rolls Royces, Bentleys, 3 or 4 one-of-a-kind cars in the world. The home's 14,000 square feet. We have all kinds of birds, monkeys, penguins. It really is quite a place and none like it around.
So you come in, and why do you have so many animals? Why are there penguins in Las Vegas? Like, what's happening there?
Well, I love animals and always have my entire life. My 2 penchants were horses and music, and I couldn't decide which I loved more. I can tell you which afforded the other, though. And
That's right. That's right.
There are only 3 species that are Arctic penguins. All the others come from South Africa, the Galapagos Islands, Chile, and cannot take cold weather. And I swim with them, and And then the few times we've had snow or inclement weather in Las Vegas, which is very rare, as you can imagine, we actually go and take them inside.
Somewhere there is the visual of Wayne Newton swimming on his property with penguins.
There is, yes.
You confronted Johnny Carson, right? Johnny Carson was making fun of you on air, and you actually went right up to him and confronted him, correct?
I did. I let it go on about maybe 2 years, and I went through his agents, and I went through his production manager, and I went through his show manager and everybody else that know him, and to say, hey, stop the crap because it's not funny and it's not real, and I'm not standing still for it. And he kept it up, and I went to L.A. to record a religious album, if you can believe that one, and as I'm doing the album and doing the tracks, the drummer says to me, I was surprised to see you here today. And I said, why? He said, oh, you obviously didn't see the Carson show last night, did you? And I said, no, why? He said, well, it was pretty brutal, and he filled me in on the details. And I told the man who was producing the album, I said, go ahead and do the tracks. I'll be back in a minute. And I left the studio and jumped in my car. I was recording at Capitol, and went right over the hill to Burbank, and I walked in Carson's office, and he was sitting there and with his producer, and so I said to Freddie DeCordova, his producer, I said, would you excuse us, please? Woo. And he got up and walked out, and I then explained to Carson why the lack of humor, if you want to call it that, is going to stop. It's going to stop now, or I was going to clean the building with him. And
Wait. Yeah.
He sat down in the corner. He said, well, I didn't write that stuff. I said, that's even worse than, because that means that you're nothing more than a monkey repeating something that somebody else is right now. I want to tell you, it stops here and it stops now, because the next time I'll cut your tongue out.
Wayne Newton.
Wayne bleeping Newton, mother bleeper! Oh, and the joke stopped right there. You should have ridden in on one of those Arabian horses. That's the only way that story would have been any better. Did the joke stop right then?
Joke stopped right then. I mean, the man, I said to him, never say my name again, and to my knowledge, he never did.
Woo, that's some mafia stuff,
Yeah.
Wayne.
I don't get angry very often, and when I do, it's the thing that people only want to see once. You know? And I'm a third-degree black belt, and in martial arts, very heavy, and have been for a long time.
I didn't know that about Wayne Newton either.
Yeah.
A black belt.
Amazing. Yeah.
Wayne, this was delightful. Thank you for making the time for us. We really enjoyed that.
It was my pleasure, guys, and I look forward to meeting you in person and saying hello and having a drink together.
I'm sitting right in the middle, Stugotz, of a hugely weird sports time in South Florida.
Yeah.
The pandemic made everyone crazy. The last 5 years of like pressing the gas on sports. We're going to inundate you with all things in sports. There's been an era of Heat basketball played over the last 5 years. And we have burned through the Jimmy Butler years, the last 15 years. Listen to what I'm going to tell you here. The last 15 years of basketball has been dominated by LeBron James, and he's given us 20% of what his economy is. Like he birthed a sports movement in a town where nothing won, nothing grew. What he and Dwayne Wade and those guys built is the only thing worth a shit in this town for 20 years in sports. The Dolphins gave us one season. The Panthers have been bad forever. And today, people are tuning in nationally because we're an obnoxious Heat show about to watch Boston and New York play for the top of the conference. And what happened at the arena last night, if you're watching the end of an era, there's something heartbreaking in it. But at the very same time, the Florida Panthers, who Greg Cody's ready to make an announcement about. Are you guys ready? Because Greg Cody came in here, and yes, he's Homer Man, but Greg Cody came in here. Are you ready to make this announcement, the only real big announcement we had today?
I am. I'm ready. The Florida Panthers, for the first time in 30 franchise years, are going to raise the Stanley Cup. They're going to win the championship.
Wow, hoist the cup.
Listen, it's a great season for the NHL. I can never remember as many 100-point teams. Great season, tough competition, I get all that. But the Tkachuk trade turned a key. Paul Maurice is one of the all-time great coaches.
Why are you guys, hold on, can I stop you for a second?
Because Roy
Greg?
is rivaling Tony Kornheiser in I got that right at this point. Like, it just dejected. I said that.
Well, he said it first.
I said that already.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm in that case, I'm not announcing, I'm reiterating.
Thank you.
Why? Okay.
Piggybacking.
And one more thing. Bill Zito does not get nearly enough credit.
You're right.
Okay, Dale Talon was an accomplished NHL GM. When they got rid of Dale Talon and brought in this guy who spent his career as an agent, everybody's going, Bill Zito? He has been great. He's made great hires.
I said all.
We've said all.
He said all that.
We've said all that.
Everyone has said everything.
First I heard any of this, Greg.
Everything you're saying,
It's all been said.
It's all been said.
Okay, you got to understand one thing. Me maximum.
That's
Until
right.
I say it, it hasn't been said.
Boom.
Okay, understand that.
You're the mayor.
Until I say it, it hasn't been said.
Me maximum. Me maximum. Me maximum.
Me maximum.
Just happened to
Maximum. Yeah. Greg is king and you're his peasants. Me maximum. Yeah. My way is the only way. Yeah. If we share a hotel room, you know who you answer to. Me maximum. You. My comfort is of most importance. Me maximum. You. Say it again so they can hear it in the back. Yeah. When you are the patriarch, no one else's feelings matter. Vacation, be maximum. Restaurant, be maximum. Article, be maximum. Cody Show, be maximum. PFBI, be maximum. Back in my day, be maximum. Hee-haw 3, be maximum. It's hee-haw me. Yeah.
I think it's an excellent lean-in. You should lean in absolutely to I'm going to be self-involved, self-absorbed media member.
That kind of thing. And you know it. Pride of a lion. Boat shoe. Miller Lite. In like a ride. All night. Falling down. Getting hurt. That kind of thing. Yeah.
All right.
So good.
All right. But the point, Stugotz, I'm saying, I know that we can be hardened media sports people post 50 years old. This is an old room covering sports in this town for a long time. And we haven't had, I don't think, a night that felt quite like last night when I pair what happens with the Heat, where you're like, ooh, okay, Boston got better, and this is their prime, and Jason Tatum's played in a lot of important games, and he's 25-26, and they got hurt at the wrong time, and maybe the Heat can recover and fix it this offseason, but it feels like these two teams have been fighting at the top for 5 years, and now one of the tires is blown off, and in the other corner of our city, the hockey team, the most championship-worthy thing we've had in hockey down here, and it's just really good and exciting, take out that specific opponent that specific way. 6-1, get out of here. Your style of play dominated, but our style wins now. To beat that team that way, you could put it at the height of as good as Panthers fans have ever felt about their team's chances.
Have ever felt, yeah. Probably. Last night felt like a changing of the guard in multiple respects, not just hockey in state, which it would appear, and they've got a ton of salary cap questions to answer, but it would appear that we are potentially at the end of this Tampa Bay run. What a glorious run.
A run that built hockey in all of Florida. Tampa is a legitimate hockey town business.
What a bar to set. And even in last year's Stanley Cup run, something was missing for the Florida Panthers. It was the ability to go through Tampa. Now, I don't think Tampa has the same opinion of Florida that Florida has of Tampa, because Florida's always been chasing Tampa. But it felt like a changing of the guard in the state, and locally, it felt like a changing of the guard for your bandwidth, for your attention, for who is most championship ready. Now I have actual legitimate confidence that the Miami Heat will fix this offseason, because I don't think there's ever been a season in recent memory, very recent memory, where they've been told so definitively they are far away, that this isn't something that you can coach your way through, that there is a talent disparity in this conference in particular that needs to be addressed. I don't think that they've ever had the message sent to them so clearly. They will fix it. But back to Florida. It is absolutely their time. This is the championship window. It may continue for a few years. That's the expectation. You got a lot of young talent locked up to long-term contracts, but you got Montour and you got Reinhart, and you don't have enough money to pay both of them, it would seem right now. You locked it up for something.
No, now's the time.
Thank God. But now is the time.
Very obviously, if you've got divided attentions, okay, and people are here for the Heat tears today, and we will give them to you, except Jeremy has just popped up out of nowhere. He's not going to give you the Heat tears, I don't think.
Why are you here?
Why are you here?
It's my job.
Oh,
but Ethan's here.
We were doing just fine. Your job was being done. I don't know why you had to come in right now.
Okay,
Do you want to celebrate the Panthers?
No, it's fine. I'll go.
You want to celebrate getting Miami's fourth-string quarterback?
Hey, welcome, Jeremy.
I would say this, Dan, that whatever we got from Jimmy Butler over the last 5 years is a lot more than we all expected.
Worth it. But we'll get back to that in a second, because we will. I'm going to stay here for a while today. Stugotz, you know the local hour is always my favorite hour.
Right.
And when seminal stuff happens in this town, where you're part of the fabric of the story of the last 15 years told in sports. Stugotz, what's happening with this Panther team, okay? A couple of years ago, that Lightning team showed you that style. No, get it out of here. We were excited about it. We were excited about a high-flying hockey team headed into the...
But we didn't know about hockey back then.
We didn't understand that you've got to play like this. Well, don't play like that. Play like this. That's what we know. We don't know much else. We know. Don't play. Look, Tampa play like that, and we play like this. Don't play like that. That loses to this. Okay, now we're this.
You know, we also know something else.
Now we're this, and you're that.
We also know something else. A couple years ago, Bob bad. Now...
Better.
Good.
Bob better.
Barkov
good.
bad. Barkov line now good.
Yeah.
Barkov line was bad. Barkov bad.
Defense was bad. Now good.
Yeah,
Good defense.
Barkov, while the point production wasn't there for a little bit, the defensive performances certainly were, and you can't talk about this series without acknowledging first and foremost, I think, 5 players in NHL history have had 100 assist seasons like Nikita Kucherov just had. And he was very frustrating if he were a Tampa Bay.
I don't know what it's like to watch Tampa hockey and have it be that quiet.
He was largely erased, especially on the special teams unit that he does the most damage as a power play maven. he was promptly erased by guys like Barkov, Stenlin when he was in PK2. Forsling was just torturing him all series long, and he showed you that he's a bit of a specialty player. There's a lot of things that he can do, but what he does best can be erased when the intensity goes up to a certain level. And as we said yesterday, it's quantifiable. Totals go down, hits go up, block shots go up in the playoffs. You're playing a different game. The Panthers had to find that out because of Tampa. And I am so happy that this story has Florida doing that to Tampa, because it was really missing from the last run that they had last summer.
My favorite part of last night, and Roy, I want to know if you got in on this in the press box, was late in the game. I think we were up like 5-6-1. Nah, 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 nah. Nah, nah, nah.
You cannot
nah.
get into that in the press box.
I did not do that.
Did you hum along with it?
No.
A little hum?
No.
The
Little
whole
toe tap?
It was
Little toe
so
tap?
loud. Like, it was the loudest I'd ever heard that song. It felt so good. That was the moment. It just felt like we were finally having our moment with the Lightning.
The barn was just top notch last night, and where in previous playoff matchups between these two teams, you saw some blue sweaters and a fairly good amount of road representation. Not at all the case in this series, unless it shifted over to Tampa, where you saw a lot more red jerseys than you have in previous series. I know, I've been there. The state has changed.
I love journalist Chris Cody imagining that in the press box, Roy Bellamy is doing that chant.
He was tapping along.
He was.
Come on, Roy.
No, I had a smile on my face when it happened. But I was not tapping.
Dworky and Belly
That's essentially a
were singing
breakdance
along.
routine.
Right.
Come on, Dworky. Was Dworky singing?
No, he wasn't there. Spring break with his kids.
What?
So he's back at Casa Dwork.
Jesus.
Casa Dwork.
Casa Dwork. Jeez.
We were thinking of new names for that show.
Yeah.
Dwork Belly.
Oh, I love that.
Belly Boys.
Dwork Belly.
Dwork Belly. Belly.
Well, because we
Belly
found
and Dworky.
we found out that Roy in the hockey world is known as Belly, and everyone calls him Belly.
That's a hockey thing, yeah.
One person called me Belly, and that's what you got from that?
Yes.
No falsehoods. You
That's all
had
it takes.
you had an interview last week on Puck Boys where the guest was calling you Belly the entire interview. In the video we saw from Tampa, Dworky was calling you Belly.
Belly Laughs is a good podcast name. Belly Laughs.
You guys really want me to change the
No
name of this?
Dwork.
Well, we're having it's a
better
struggling.
name,
I'm going to
We
say
want hockey, Roy.
I'm
It's
gonna
all
say-
the hockey show.
I'm going to say it's a struggling hockey show.
It's
Whoa.
struggling?
Wow.
It
It's
already got a
struggling.
spin-off.
Yeah.
All right. Doesn't mean it can't soar to great heavens
Get
because
It
Should that be the
travels.
title?
I don't
Yeah.
necessarily
Started.
think Tampa Bay Lightning trivia was a step in the right direction.
yes, it was. That was that was the beginning of a soaring ascent into whatever belly door
with taxiing to the
Dork
runway.
belly.
Yes, exactly.
Whatever it is that it becomes, but
The Boulin Wall was a good tidbit.
When
for
you
those.
asked the name of the Panthers goalie when they made the finals in 1996, and you said he's named after a bug, what bug were you thinking of?
A hornet. What bug do you think I was thinking of?
a bee.
It's a bee.
Beezer.
Van
Right.
Beesbrook.
Yeah, how is a
Beezer.
He's called the
Beezer?
Beezer.
Famously had a bee on the back of his mask.
Yes.
See, some of us have been
Hornet?
watching hockey. We're in
Roy,
original 7
Roy,
market.
Do you not get your own joke?
Who do we want next? Is what
hornet?
I want to know. Carolina or
hornet?
Boston?
As sarcasm.
Well, it's either Toronto or Boston.
Yeah.
Close, Billy.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm watching here.
I appreciate you guys celebrating today. You do have Boston and the Rangers coming up.
I wasn't sure if there was a
Gonna get more-
reseeding.
I think
or
it's going to
what,
be.
you know?
I think it's going to be the Canes that come out of that matchup with the Rangers. But sure, but they're all great teams in the East.
Right. Okay, but the Rangers, Stugotz. I
They're
don't know
good.
whether I'm going to. Yeah, well, no, they're the best, right? Right? They won the Biden's Cup.
Yeah, President's Trophy.
President's Trophy.
Means
yeah.
But that's cursed.
Right.
The Biden Cup's cursed. Everybody knows
It
that.
is
But
cursed.
Greg Cody was laughing at his son. I will tell you, Chris, that absorbing this on behalf of the audience, while understanding exactly the emotion of being near the Sawgrass Mall, singing "Na Na Na Na" at the Tampa Bay Lightning, I can totally see how Cody's kid, his heart soars, loving sports, and it feels like an emotional moment because you're knocking out that team. It means something. They're worthy champions. Like that team is terrifying, and that organization has made taught Florida Panthers what they had to do in hockey, and then they trade for Tkachuk, and everything changes. And now Tkachuk is looking at Barkov and saying, he's been amazing. He wins all the faceoffs. It's all the hits, all the blocks. Like, Barkov is out there look. I don't think there's been a hockey player who's disappointed Mike more than Barkov over the last few years. You hate him in the playoffs.
Well, no, Bob and Barkey during the runs that didn't end with a Stanley Cup Finals appearance that ended at the feet of the Tampa Bay Lightning. They would go missing. They were inconsistent. Barkey, he's a tricky player to even talk about because he does a lot of things that you really need to know hockey to realize what he does. So I'm really happy that he had that type of performance, a game-winning shorthanded goal, and then the second goal to bag a brace to really show people why exactly he wears a captaincy, because he's a bit of a different type of leader.
It was offensively you were disappointed in the series prior.
Yeah, in the series prior. Like defensively, he would always do it, even though we had a much better game plan this time.
Barkov has been complained about more during the postseason here the last 3 years than any other Panther I can think of.
Ekblad was up there.
Yeah,
well, he was hurt. He's been hurt.
Ekblad is always going to be hurt, and that's part of the evaluation that you do right now. But Barkey, now that Patrice Bergeron has moved on, Barkey is the best two-way center in that sport. You can make a solid argument for, and I don't know what the award is called.
Selke Trophy.
The Selke Trophy. But he should perennially be named a finalist. By the way, Bobrovsky, a finalist yesterday, was named for the Vezina. He started a little slow, but then he got stronger as the game went on, and I think it's hugely imperative for their playoff and championship chances that they get this rest now, not just for Sam Bennett, but also it seemed as though Bobrovsky, especially in that Game 4, was showing you could use a bit of a breather.
Greg, why were you laughing at your son's emotion? Because I can see Chris Cody finding that to be a swelling moment. And I can think the audience is listening to that and being like, hey, kiddo, first round.
But I'm saying, it's this team.
It
was the moment.
I just did it to him.
It really was the crowd sensing the moment of like, we finally have our moment with this team.
Right.
To send them home, and we have the upper hand. And Roy's been in this longer than all of us, so I actually thought that he would be moved there. So maybe you don't sing along, but you are enjoying that moment.
I think every year outside of one, Roy's always been about all the smoke when it came to Tampa, because he knows for us to get to where we need to go, it needed to go through Tampa for it to feel right. And we have that missing Thanos ring now.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I'm already on the Bruins or Maple Leafs for the next round. Now we got to prepare for this one.
Am I the only person who heard that chant as a little bit disrespectful?
Hold on a second, Greg. I don't understand.
Roy's on to Cincinnati.
Roy, I really don't understand. Roy, your
fandom
fandom is one of the strangest things
ready?
I've ever seen. You give press conference at the end, I'm on to Toronto, I'm on to Boston, as if you have to focus like a coach on the next game plan, can't get too high, can't get too low. Like, what are you doing?
Dan, this was the first round.
Yeah.
We got a lot of hockey left.
Act like you've been there before.
I already said that.
Right.
I would like to shout out, and if you go to the Le Batard AF shop, you know that the group chat had a good feeling about this. Because we
tried to tell you.
We have won World War III, but that was just a key battle.
These are good shirts. These are like I am sure that this will be over the arena because these are shirts for this time in South Florida and this marshland near Sawgrass. We can sell this shirt there.
We continue to build on our original 7 tradition, and World War III is a huge piece of that. We told you exactly how this series was going to go. You stay out of the penalty box largely, and Game 4 was un desastre of epic proportions. But if you stay out of that penalty box largely,
you're better than they are.
You know that you're better 5v5, and I think you can say that for the next round as well. I think there is a talent disparity between Florida and Boston. Toronto's got a lot of talent, but there's a lot of stuff going on there, and I don't think they're going to make it through that series.
The funny thing about last night was it was actually Tampa that was better 5-on-5. They had the most opportunities. They had the most shot attempts. But the Panthers special teams really carried that.
The loudest cheers in the arena last night were the 2 goals taken off. It was amazing. The second one, the first one was clear. It was coming off. Everyone kind of knew. The second one, the arena was 50-50. The Duclair one, that one was close.
If the Sorelli goal is called a goal, maybe they don't change it. But it did go to replay, and they said emphatically the call was confirmed. The ref was pretty quickly there. You cannot like the rule. I'm not crazy about the rule. I think you have to touch the goalie to interfere. Florida's had some goals pulled off the board where there's somebody in the crease, and they're not actually affecting the goalie, but it's still called interference. Letter of the law, you're in that crease of your own volition and not pushed into it, that's goalie interference.
Well, here's the thing. That Tampa's big adjustment in this series was net front presence, and that's what happened. It went against them in that situation. You can't be inside the crease at all,
from Duke.
Anytime.
Little shithousery from Duke.
But John Cooper, after the game, is whimpering his way into the offseason, saying you can't disallow those goals, that everybody should be wearing skirts. The goalkeepers should be wearing
Classic
skirts.
Coop.
It was a bad challenge out of him. The fact that he challenged it, it was a move of desperation, knowing that this is the only
penalty?
thing that I had left. I get where he's coming from on the second goal, and I understand why he challenged that, but
That's a big risk.
He was desperate, though.
You lost a game
Desperate times
6-1.
call
You
for
lost a
desperate
series 5-1. Pretty lame.
Billy, that's
pretty lame.
Good analysis.
Cheaters never prospered.
That's
man.
right. Billy, what was your take? Because here we are in the middle of this. The Marlins get swept by the Nationals.
Yeah.
It's raining.
Keeping an eye on that one.
It was raining.
Still early.
It's still early. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't too early last night. They have a dome for weather, but it was raining at Lone Depot Park.
Yeah.
And your baseball season is over. They're the worst team in baseball, swept at home by the Nationals, blown out in every game.
Yesterday was just 101-62, Dan, you know?
Yep.
On pace to finish 30 and 132. But who's counting?
But the because I've got the perspective here of Greg Cody's in the middle of this. You remember what this was for him last year, going to the finals with 2 unprecedented runs at eight seeds at the same time.
Not going to happen this year.
No, it's not.
Right.
Where are you with what last night was between the two sports in terms of being a historic Miami night? The Heat might as well not even take the flight to Boston.
They should save the money and give their travel expenses to charity.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I have that series coming back here.
Yeah, I'm not doubting Coach Spo. You guys can doubt him.
Yep.
At your own peril.
Go ahead.
I have full faith in this
Are
man.
you kidding me?
I mean, come on.
I feel so bad for Spoelstra. He's giving serious minutes to Patty Mills.
Look,
he's desperate.
He's got paid.
My opinions on the Heat have been really on the macro level. If you listen back to the parade of gas bags, my opinions aged the most gracefully. I wasn't the one out there doubting them game by game, saying that this is going to be a sweep. They're not going to get a game. This is the best coach in the NBA, folks. Learn some respect.
Patty Mills is on the Heat.
Should give him some minutes to Cole Swider.
He
Tried
was
to
loose.
tell him.
He was
looking loose
You did
yesterday
try-
morning.
You did try to tell him. You did have the good coaching analysis. You tried to give him
Looked
a
in his
move.
eyes, and I said, that's a loose man right there.
Not more Kevin Love minutes. I'll analyze the Heat stuff in a second. Their offense is very limited, okay? If you have the entirety of a series I mean, these games in the 80s, I don't even recognize games in the 80s in the sport anymore. And they are particularly ill-suited for referees allowing people to play a little longer so they can't have their free throw advantages.
Heat fandom is largely a poison, and I submit as evidence the victory lap, I guess you could call it that people were calling what had happened in Phoenix and taking a screenshot of their bench and saying some Heat fans wanted this. Yeah, I think it plays out differently with Spo than Vogel and with Miami's front office and leadership than it does with Phoenix's. Are you seriously flexing when you're scoring 80 points, bro?
Well, but you're going back and forth off of being right about this Heat team or not, and I will analyze what comes next for the Heat in the next segment, because I do think
it's Game 5, right?
Yes,
better get to it today.
Yes, we better get to it. Jeremy has now returned to the room. I'm sure he is hopeful and still waving the Heat flag, I'm guessing.
I mean, it's going to be really tough. Their offense can't do anything. They're undermanned, and when you're, instead of playing Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, you're getting minutes from Patty Mills, DeLon Wright, who's been as productive as you can expect him to be. Your offense is going to completely fall apart, and that's what it's done. What's crazy is that the Heat have outscored the Celtics when Bam Adebayo is on the floor. It's just the minutes where he's not there, they've been outscored by 40, and it's just a disaster in that regard.
It's the same in Philadelphia's series. Embiid leaves the court, and the plus-minus numbers are crazy. Like, he can't leave the court. But I do think one of the things that happens with injury when you steam through these things, Stugotz, I mean, Duncan Robinson was a really useful player for them all year when they looked to be good at offense, and physically he's not right. Rozier's not right. They traded for him because Hero wasn't right. Jimmy Butler's not right. All of that stuff is a bunch of injury hoo-ha, but it wasn't 2 months ago that I would have said the Heat at their healthiest best had a chance against Boston in this series. This team does not have a chance against Boston in this series. There's no coming back 3 games. I don't think they're going to win in Boston either, but the offense cannot do anything if you have I said at the beginning of the series, Boston's better at defense than Miami's at offense, and Miami is better at, and Miami's better at nothing. Miami's better at nothing. They made 23 threes.
Yeah.
The shame of it is their defense has been good enough to hold Boston to about 100 points, but they're scoring 80, and that's never going to cut it.
Greg?
This is the new and improved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
There he is, one of the all-time favorites in the history of our show, Ron McGill. Look at him. He's one of the all-time favorites.
I would say he's the favorite.
I don't know. I mean, he's got the highest Q rating I know of. No one doesn't like Ron McGill, excuse the double negative. He did a book with Greg Cody. He got Greg Cody to work hard. That is hard to do at this stage in his career, but he made Greg Cody care about an animal as well.
I wrote a book without working.
A what?
You wrote a what?
A book. Sorry. I don't know what happened there. StugotzBook.com.
Let's have that as the promotion, please. Let's have that be the commercial for I wrote a book. Or
I wrote a book.
Order today, and you get an autographed copy of my book.
You wrote a razor.
There's no selling out around here. We try to keep it about the art and the book that they did together. I will tell people, because we're selling books around here today.
Yeah.
Greg, when I make the joke, I don't know that you've made a lot of adult friends late in life because you respect them so much that you would take the time to work very hard for a year to craft the book about his story. I feel like you and Ron became friends in there, and I don't know you to make friends late in life.
Right. I wouldn't have done the book, and I was thrilled to be asked. I wouldn't have done the book if Ron wasn't such a a generous person, great at what he does, a champion of animals and wildlife, an institution in South Florida. Everything about Ron made me want to work with him. And also, it was something I'd never done before. I'd never not written sports. And so for the year or so that we collaborated on this book, it was a joyful side road for me to take. I love everything about it. I'm thrilled the way the book came out, and I'm glad it's doing well.
But are you friends?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, we are. I think we were friends before then, weren't we?
Well, we go way back, but I think we were casual friends. You know, I think we
Yeah,
were like
agreed.
friendly acquaintances and everything.
I never had you over my house for bacon.
That's true. And boy, that bacon was
It's good
so
bacon.
good.
Oh, my God, it's good bacon.
We
Oh.
ate it a couple of
Yeah,
days
it's good
later,
bacon.
believe it or not, and it was just
Oh, yeah, it's
fantastic.
good.
Best bacon I've ever had.
That's right. Greg's wife has never shut up about it.
Best bacon I've ever had.
I don't intend to throw a wrench in this friendship. You know me, I'm not one to do so. But I was looking on the social medias the other day, and I saw Ron promoting that he was going to be at an art museum, and he was going to be telling the story of Quasi. And I said, you know what? I think that's Greg's story and Ron's story together. And now it seems like Ron's going on tour telling Quasi's story sans Greg, and it rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. Kind of felt like a band
wait a minute.
was
Wait,
going
wait,
out
wait,
there
Billy,
and just one
Billy,
singer
Billy.
singing the
Let
band.
him finish, Ron. Let him finish.
Okay.
Billy.
Yes, sir.
Listen, the Panthers are in the playoff. The Heats are in the playoff. It's not like Greg doesn't have a ton of stuff on his plate.
Perfect
So
time
I'm
to
trying
strike.
to pick up the slack promoting the book because both of us benefit when I promote the book. And I think he's just too busy. Plus, he looks like a freaking truck hit him. I don't want to put him in front of a bunch
Thank
of kids
you.
looking like that. It's going to scare him.
It would. You know what? Ron promoting the book without me rubs me in the right way, baby. And let me tell you why. I did two. Yeah, I did two.
Taken to a bowling
I
alley,
did.
am I right?
I did two combined book promotions with Ron. One was at his zoo, and one was at Books and Books. They both attracted sellout crowds. They were wonderful events, and now I am thrilled that he is still promoting the book on the ground floor, without me, because as he says, I have a lot on my plate with work. Plus, I have almost no interest in speaking to a 35 women at a book club.
You
Sorry.
got to sell books.
I
man.
know. I mean, unless they're all buying The Pride of a Lion.
What do you mean?
Hey, just sold 100 more. Just sold 100 more.
What did you just do? Wait, you have.
Yeah,
what
edit that out. What I just
What
said.
kind of authoring promotion is that to say I wouldn't go ever to be with 35 women at a book club who are there to buy my book?
I mean, because Ron loves that enough for both of us. He's built to do
and
that.
it was actually about 60 women, and it was great. They all
you
bought
go.
books. It was great.
Let's be honest. Who do you want showing up to that event, Ron or Greg?
Exactly.
No, but I don't understand. It's not about who do I want showing up to that event. How are you actively against the people who are giving you money to buy a book and don't want to be around them?
I am actively for people who buy this book. They're some of my favorite people.
You just
on
don't want to
earth.
meet them.
Okay,
You just don't
they're-
want to be in their presence.
They're book lovers, and I love them. Believe me.
But you wouldn't want to go to something like this.
Not particularly.
Fair.
But this is how a book gets promoted. Books aren't doing great, you know, Greg?
Yeah,
Books,
this one is.
Books, no, but I'm just saying in general, reading.
Right.
Reading is not something that people are putting in their hands anymore.
It's true. I mean, nowadays people listen to a book and they call it reading. Bulletin. If you listen to a book on
Not
an audio
reading.
thing,
Thank
you
you.
haven't read a book.
Wow.
I've read plenty of books.
I'm sorry.
But
If
your
you-
book's going to be on audio,
if
isn't
you,
it?
If you listen to a book, you haven't read a book. I mean that literally.
If you've read Heat 2 and I've listened to Heat 2, we both know the same amount about Heat 2.
Okay. If this is how you listen to a book, if this is how you read a book in your earbuds, you're consuming a book, but you're not reading a book. Reading is a tactile experience. You have the book in your hand.
Okay.
You're actually
Fine.
physically turning
Semantics
pages.
game.
Okay.
But I've consumed that book just as well as you've consumed it.
You have consumed it, but not as well.
What do you mean?
You've taken the secondhand road.
Yeah.
You've taken the easy way
Who
out.
are you to tell me reading retention is better than audio
You know
retention?
who's
I'm an
reading that?
audiophile.
You know who's reading that book? The
Who?
person speaking to you is reading that book.
Yeah, and then they did a bang-up job. You should hear the
You're
De
not
Niro
reading it.
and Pacino impressions.
Okay,
It's the same guy.
Okay, you know what? People agree
Talent.
with me.
Wait,
If
what do you
don't
mean
read a
people
book-
agree with
if
you?
you don't,
He's
if
right.
you're hearing a book, you're not reading a book. I'm not degrading people who do the audiobook thing.
No.
I'm just telling you it is
Yes,
not.
you most certainly are.
It is not a book reading experience.
Greg, you're going to do it. the audio version of a book.
I mean, I don't know. Ron, is this even out on an audiobook? I have no idea.
If you and him did it, and he wait a minute.
I would read the shit out of that book.
So wait. So
Audio.
I can't believe you guys haven't already thought of this.
Ron has to do this.
Wildly unsurprising.
Yeah.
Quasi.
What Mike Ryan is, if you guys were to do it that way, with Billy popping out of the shadows saying Quasi's name that way, if you guys,
Dan's got a lot of ideas for book companies.
What I would say,
He's a delegator.
if Ron and Greg poured into the evolution of book promotion an audio version of this book with the sound effects that Ron makes, you just said that you're having a better experience than reading because you get the Pacino impersonator. It's not even, and he's saying
Did
no.
you know that Pacino says that it's not well known, but that character that he played in Heat was a coke addict. They just wanted to be very subtle with it.
Okay, that's
and
why
his performance was pretty
that's
subtle,
why
if
he
you recall it
downplayed
correctly.
Yeah, okay, understood. But they never had him using cocaine. The point is, Greg, you're actively not promoting your book. You're being against your customers.
No.
Oh, he is promoting it. Every time I see him, he's got the book right in front of him. That's more than I can say.
Thank you. I'm promoting it right now.
Exactly.
It's a life-size book. It's not a giant placard like that.
It's also flashy. When I read a book, all up in here. I don't need to be showing people
Is that
I
right?
read it.
By the way, when you read a movie script, you haven't seen that movie.
I've seen it in my head.
Wow.
Okay. I've read plenty of scripts.
That's a great analogy, Greg. I got to go with Greg on that one.
Thank you, Ron.
There's just something to it, Greg, where you touch the pages, you feel the ink on your fingers.
Tactile.
Oh, tactile.
Tactile sensation.
That's right.
The book even has a smell.
It has a smell. Oh,
do I smell
take a whiff.
Quasi?
Oh, take a whiff of that.
It's like perfume.
Oh,
Look at this beautiful lion. Look at this beautiful lion.
I'm a bit disturbed that at this stage in our career, the Ron McGill segment has become I wrote a bic. Selling Stugotz's book, and it's become "It Rubs Me the Right Way, Baby," as we just completely sell out, asking the listeners to read.
Tactile.
I mean,
Or listen.
When I say pick up a book, I mean it literally. Don't pick up an earbud.
Well, Greg, if your book was an audiobook, would you be all in favor of people listening to your book?
It would be wonderful.
Okay.
But I would still prefer they actually read the book itself.
But you're understanding that more people would buy it if you and Ron were doing the reading, correct?
Yeah, that's a problem.
But are you not understanding the evolution of the medium that would make reading a different thing for a different generation?
I have spoken to the Miami Herald about that. You can click on a certain thing on my column and have somebody dictate my column to you. But it's like an electronic, it's probably AI. It's an electronic voice. It's not me. I have volunteered to put my columns in my own voice, and they never followed up on it.
Okay, but newspapers aren't exactly thriving.
An audio
I
newspaper,
didn't say
though,
they were.
Dan, that would be it. That's an idea.
Game changer.
But it's a way to increase traffic. And
It's called the podcast. Yeah.
No. Listen, guys, I agree with Greg. You can go to
New
the
York
Herald.
Times does one. Pablo Torre did one for a while. Now he's doing one with us.
No, but every story in the Herald, it goes, if you don't have time to read, click here to listen, and it sounds like a robot. It takes away totally the effect of the article.
100%. That's and I grant you, it's a small example, but it's a way to maybe get a few extra readers.
No, newspapers have failed to evolve.
Right.
That is correct. It's one of the reasons that they're failing, and they
Correct.
were taken out so easily. That's one of the things that's appalling about everything that has happened to the American information system. Books are not thriving either, but one way to get them to thrive is to meet with 50 people at a book club.
And thank God Ron's doing it.
Yep.
And to promote the idea that this should be read in whatever way you choose to consume the information.
Right.
I can't believe that you're shaming me.
Preferably
I'm
book
target demo right here, and you're just telling me I'm not good enough
No.
to consume your book.
Look, I'm happy.
I help your bottom line.
I'm happy that you're consuming books. What I'm saying is I think you're cheating yourself out of the experience.
Never had LASIK surgery.
It's
you don't know what
tactile.
reading does to my eyes.
He has a preference. That's all
This is
he's
a conscious
saying.
decision that I'm making.
He would like you to read the book, not listen to it.
That's fine.
But he's okay with you listening to it.
Don't
No,
be,
he doesn't seem okay with
Well,
it.
I think he's okay when he gets money.
It's very highfalutin. You're
No,
ready
he's
to money to
saying
make the book.
he's fine with
Make
you
the audiobook,
consuming
I'll
it. You're
listen.
just not reading it, is what
Right.
he's saying. Yeah. Tactile.
like if you can, if you listen to a book, just don't say, "Yeah, I read that book."
No, I read
you
it.
didn't.
I can, and I will.
Okay.
You can't smell an audiobook.
Thank you.
I wrote a book.
Thank you, Billy.
That's gonna make me laugh every time.
I wrote a book.
It's the perfect.
Stugotz.com.
That's the perfect way to promote it. We have to create a commercial around this. This is what has to stop the advertising train of Stugotz right
I
here.
wrote a book.
There it is.
Just
I wrote a book.
build
That's a
it
quick
all
read.
around that.
Fast read.
There's nothing in there.
I wrote a book.
He's just taking money from the audience.
Hypothetically, if I were swallowed by a large anaconda, and I understand that it breaks the bones and whatnot, but if you've seen the late 90s film Anaconda, John Voight gets regurgitated and he even winks at Jennifer Lopez. Is that humanly possible to remain consciousness after partially going through the digestive tract of an anaconda?
It is possible, not probable, assuming that the head is still out and you're able to breathe. You can certainly get some very bad enzyme burns into the legs and such. But yeah, as long as you're able to breathe, which I don't think is going to be the case, because an anaconda is not going to start swallowing you until you stop breathing, until it's choked the life out of you. They don't crush your bones or anything. They just, they constrict around the vascular system and they don't allow you to breathe. So it's not going to start swallowing you until you're dead.
The Key West crocodile, saltwater crocodile, featured in Roadhouse, killing a man. Mike Ryan told me I was a fool for thinking that that was a ridiculous scenario. Am I a fool for thinking that a ridiculous scenario?
I didn't see the scene, but there's nothing being foolish about the ability of a large crocodile to kill a human. It's been done, unfortunately, many, many times. It's not something that people need to panic about. Every time you see a crocodile, the crocodile's out to kill me. That's not the case. But the crocodile certainly has the capability to do so.
You should be wary, though, in any marina that has saltwater crocs, because oftentimes saltwater crocs are hanging out in that marina because people are throwing fish into the water after they take back their hulls for the day. So if anything goes in the water, especially a henchman, that saltwater croc is going to pounce.
Well, yeah, and you don't have to say saltwater croc. Crocodiles here in Florida are not true. They're crocodiles that can be found in salt water, but the true saltwater crocodile is only found in Australia. That is a man killer. They can get to be over 18 feet. That's a very different crocodile than the one we have here, even though the crocodile we have here, the American crocodile, can be found in salt water.
Let me show you something here, video of a zebra. Tell me what we're watching here, Ron. Zebras, what are they doing?
They're standing in the middle of the street. This is probably in a place, I don't know, maybe South Africa or such.
Washington.
No,
North Bend.
That's Washington.
North Bend, Washington State.
Oh, then they got out of
You don't think they're indigenous?
No, they're not indigenous.
So they're
not
invasive.
indigenous. I said what I said first because I have seen this in Africa where zebras will cross roads in different areas. They have, they transition through different areas, and sometimes it's through a bit, habitated places. But no, these are obviously zebras that were somebody's little herd that they had in one of their sanctuaries or one of their little, wild exotic animal resorts.
What is the danger of something like that to either the zebras or us?
The danger's to the zebra that's going to get hit by somebody. Zebra's going to run away from you. If you try to corner one, it can kick you, they can bite you, they can be but they're not going to come after you for no reason unless it's a mare protecting her foal. Zebras are not, it's like coming across horses. They're going to run away from you if you give them a way out. If you don't give them a way out and you corner them, they can be very, very dangerous.
Ron, it seems like there's more and more scenes like that where you see animals on streets, animals that have gotten loose from somewhere. I'm curious, in the history of Zoo Miami, what have been examples of an animal getting loose and all of a sudden wandering among people in the zoo, and has that ever been a perilous situation?
We've never had an animal kind of wandering amongst the people in the zoo. We have had some hoofstock, antelope, deer that have jumped out of an exhibit that something startled them, whether it be a loud clap of thunder or something like that. And as soon as they jumped out of the exhibit, they realized, oh my gosh, I'm in a place that I'm not familiar with. They jump right back in. So that's something that has happened, but it's never presented a danger to the public.
Ron, thank you, sir. If anyone wants to support the things that Ron is doing, it's money that goes straight to conservation and, of course, his Cadillacs and his upgraded wardrobe. But he's the one handling everything. There's no bureaucracy, and you'll just help people, like if you want to care about jaguars. And you could do so by buying The Pride of a Lion by Greg Cody and Ron McGill. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Take care.
Greg, we cut you off. You had some Miami Heat thoughts for us, and I want to get back to this. But before I do so, it's being reported now that Joel Embiid has missed shoot-around this morning with a migraine. His status for tonight's game remains questionable. My instinct on Joel Embiid is to feel bad for him. I can also go the other route and say, you know what? He's under it. Doesn't really need to go to shoot-around this morning. Stay at the hotel. Don't even go out in the street. It's okay, Joel. Everything's hurting right now. Just go home and be at the game.
Just be there for tip-off?
Yes. Well, right. I don't know that I would say migraine. If it is indeed a migraine, I would feel very bad that the pressure that this person is under is making his face fall apart. Like, he's already played a playoffs wearing a mask. He's under a great deal of duress. I know these guys are muscles on top of muscles, and we expect them to endure everything. But he's a human being, and he's been saying with Jokic for 2 years, I'm the MVP. Here it is. Here's like his career has a chance to blossom, or he will be left behind because Anthony Edwards is here now and Jason Tatum is here now, and the league is going to be fought over the next few years. And this is what Philadelphia has wrought for 15 years of losing and embarrassment.
What he'll have to do, which I think he's trying to avoid, is just join other superstars and try to create a super team elsewhere or in Philadelphia. That's what he's
Correct.
trying to not do.
But I would not blame him or say it's cowardice if he does so. This is the weight these people are under. We are making fun of Kevin Durant. Stugotz, what just happened in Phoenix is pretty damn interesting, man. They mortgaged everything for right now, and they got caught between the league is being taken over by young people, and this is the year that Durant and Steph and LeBron, we can all say, oh, you're not close. It's a new time. Like, maybe you can hang on somewhere, but not the way you're built, not where you live now. The league's been taken from you. A guy in Denver took it, and he's got a whole bunch of people coming for him now who are OKC. Stugotz, that starting lineup in OKC, 99.5% of its points are being scored by people under 25 years old.
Right.
That's never happened. This young team, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, people are about to learn, oh, he's Anthony Edwards adjacent, and they're coming for the ogre. Like, they want Jokic, and everybody wants Jokic, but you're about to see where history gets made, stories get told, and everyone is impressed by Anthony Edwards. And God almighty, what a cool moment for Anthony Edwards to have his favorite player say that Anthony Edwards is his favorite player.
That's awesome.
What a torch for Kevin Durant to give to Anthony Edwards, that he is considered Kevin Durant's favorite player, and Kevin Durant loses to him in a sweep. Get out of here. You're the first team out. And he says, your league, kid. You're my favorite player.
I can't believe we're living in a world where I'm excited for Nuggets and T-Wolves. I mean, what a great series that's going to be.
It's a great series.
Amazing.
And you will hear now all of this that falls on Embiid. Karl Anthony Towns is going to get it for the first time. Anthony Davis has lived under it for a while. It's unpleasant. Like, I know we think these guys are giants, but it sucks, man. Thursday night, Charles Barkley, you're Anthony Davis. You're 30 and 15. He's saying, more street clothes. More. That's who you are. Yeah, I know you're great. More. We're Hall of Famers, me and Shaq. Are you going to be one? Like, one of the things I find fascinating about what just happened last night, I can't talk. Yeah.
Everyone gets in.
Yeah, no, but definitively.
Yeah, for sure.
Emphatically is.
Yes. One of the things that I just love about the storytelling of this time of year is that the demands on these people feel superhuman. I just told you I'd be scared to be Joel Embiid tonight. Man, New York's obnoxious, Stugotz. New York is great. New York, you want this fandom. It is so loud.
May I ask you, what is it specifically about Joel Embiid? Because you feel more sorry for him than anyone else in the national media landscape.
And he's not alone, by the way.
I understand. Like, he's got slight facial paralysis that in some cases often stresses the cause of it. Sometimes it's other things, but he can play out there. He's shown you that he can play it. I don't know why you're feeling so bad for Joel Embiid. He's had it pretty good over there. They've brought in superstar teammates for him. He's got to deliver.
He was delivering to near historic proportions before he got hurt this year. He was an MVP waiting to happen again before he got hurt.
And he's putting up 50 burgers. And I understand he's not the two-way force he used to be, but he's going up against like Jalen Brunson.
Okay, but so this is my point, and this is where I would tell you the stories to me are the most interesting, because I believe LeBron James getting knocked out of the playoffs last night, dominating all of the discourse for 20 years and making the league so much stronger than it was based on the strength of I'll be the next Jordan. The amount of pressure that we put on this human being for 20 years makes it so we're still arguing, is he the greatest? Is he the greatest? When what he's done for 20 years should be celebrated and applauded. Like, wow, amazing, huge pressure all the time. And now it goes out the door and gets fought over the remains of it. What Kobe left, what Michael left.
Everyone's chasing that ghost.
That's correct. But in the heat of how cruel LeBron James's age was, he's not the first social media athlete, but this crew remembers when LeBron James joined Twitter, and this crew here remembers the voice that carried as he took over the sport. That guy conquered it all, and I believe we were cruel to him on the ascent and felt entitled to it. Be better than Jordan. Be better than Jordan. It's a big ask for the Embiids of the world. Some men will live up to it. Some will lose to Antetokounmpo or Jokic.
Well, if you're just comparison shopping on pressure and stress on the body, Embiid, again, charmed existence compared to what we saw with LeBron. LeBron found a way. Now I know it is unfair to assume that Joel Embiid can be that kind of player. We're talking about top 2 all time with LeBron James. But he is an MVP. He is one of the greats, and he has never gotten out of the second round. Do it. You're going up against a team that is missing a max contract. This is not an overwhelming Knicks team.
No, it's not.
You're going up against Jalen Brunson. I mean, Dan, you're going up against Jalen Brunson.
He's supposed to be a better superstar than Jalen Brunson.
And to Mike's point, it's a great one. LeBron really went through it. Embiid hasn't been through anything yet. LeBron went through it for decades.
And so, agreed, Stugotz? By comparison, nothing. But I will just place in front of you the process, short-circuited mentally, not 1 but 2 first-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz fell apart mentally. I'm just telling you, the pressure cooker can eat up human beings. And you can say, do more, do more, do more. And his body can hurt, and he can give you 50, and he doesn't get the rebounds in the fourth. I understand. I'm simply explaining to you, LeBron James conquered that pressure cooker, and you and Skip Bayless were chasing him the whole time. You're not as great as you think you are. You're not as great as you think you are. That falls on Joel Embiid tonight. And I'm just telling you, the guy that overcomes it, I applaud it, bravery.
LeBron took out the Pistons. Look at the team that he had. He conquered it with, like, Drew Gooden. You've had Harden. You've had Simmons when everyone rated him highly. You had Jimmy Butler. They gave Tobias Harris a big contract. You have Daryl Morey, who's reputed to be one of the best GMs there. You've had good coaches come in and out of there. You have a former champion head coach right now. Like, he's got to, at a certain point, you got to live up. Or this is what happens on the other side of that coin.
I root for the best stories. The best story tonight is Joel Embiid, not healthy. Now he's got Bell's palsy, walking into the viciousness that can be MSG and shutting up that crowd.
It's a great story. The whole thing, this is what I love. This is what I love about playoff basketball.
And Taylor's going to be there.
Right. Oh, where is Taylor? Where is he right now?
Train.
No, he's very close.
He's going to meet up with us soon.
Fans have been buying him snacks all along the eastern seaboard and running it out to trains. Taylor is taking a 28-hour train that will drop him off stinky, 28 hours stinky at MSG. That's what Embiid's walking into, New York's ass crack today. It's been on a train for 28 hours.